it differs again in terms of the tools and in terms of the application as well.
Okay.
So the first thing is these are the 4xx. We'll call it as client errors. They are not server errors. These are like client errors. I'll tell you why they are client errors. And inside this, the first one is 400. So 400 is the bad request. Caps lock sound. It's a bad request. When I say bad request, this request that you're sending, right? So that can be a malformed request. It can have incorrect header, it can have invalid syntax. So it can be anything, right? So that's why it fails. So when you're sending a bad request, automatically the system will not be able to understand it, right? So in that case, yes, automatically the system will not respond it will not respond with the proper or with the actual response, but instead it will tell you that it's a meaning. It won't tell you that your request is an incorrect request or you do have invalid syntax. All it sends you back is just a 400 response code. So we have to actually look into it and find that, okay, what is the mistake in it, or how can we make the request in a proper format. And this happens due to test script error. So that's the reason I'm telling you this is a client side error. That's from our side. So it's basically a client side error where we get to see any bad request. And the next one is 401, which we call it as 401, which is unauthorized. 401, and it's a unauthorized request. So this request that's the unauthorized request is something where we lack. Come on. Okay. I think now we can see the screen better. So 401 unauthorized is something where the request will lack the authentication credentials. Say, for example, your credentials like that you send as part of your scripting. So in terms of performance testing, it indicates that the session handling or any token management is failing under your load. So that's the unauthorized. So it lacks the authentication credentials. That's the first thing. And the second part is in terms of performance testing, this shows that the session handling. So when I say session handling, it can be your J session ID or it can be your token thing. So if they fails, then automatically you get to see this 401 authorized. And the critical point here is this happens under load. This will not happen under normal scenario. So when we might think that, okay, I'm doing it when I'm doing it in my browser, I'm getting it working. But why does it get why I'm facing this issue when I'm doing load? Yes, that is what this 401 is all about. When you're doing it under your load, or when you're doing it with a high amount of load, or with during your load testing or stress testing, you get to see this 401, which means either your request does not have the authentication, or your session handling or your token management is failing. So if it fails, then you get to see this error. So that's about the 401, and then you get to see the 403. That's forbidden. So when I say forbidden, the server, right? When I say the server, your application server will understand that the request, but it will refuse to authorize the request. So it receives the request, but instead of authorizing it, it will not authorize. It will refuse it, and this will occur because due to some security restrictions or because of any incorrect credentials. And this is again. Uh, some of the examples. It can be due to various other reasons, but in terms of your security, the layer is security. But the point here is when you are sending this 403 forbidden, forbidden is something like it's a kind of a cursed one. So you are sending a request. So there is no issues with your request. But the issue is with the server that is refusing to authorize it because you have security restrictions are incorrect credentials. So when I say security restrictions are incorrect credentials, it cannot be any incorrect headers or invalid syntax, but it will be in the credentials part. So every single or every separate client error will have different meaning. So as I told you, the bad request is something because of incorrect header or invalid syntax. The unauthorized is something because of load. It happens when there is a failing token authentication session handling. And the 403 is something where your request is fine in some aspect, but it fails in terms of the security restrictions or any incorrect credentials. And then the 404, which is not found. So when I say not found, it will be something like the requested resource that you are trying to access, right? That does not exist. So you are actually trying a request. You are actually sending a request to access some particular application, and it will tell you that okay, this particular resource is not found. So when you see that it is not found, then yes, automatically it will fail. And if that particular 404 is frequent, you have to check whether the test is hitting any valid endpoint or if there are any issues with the load balancing. So we all know about load balancing, right? So load balancing is something like when more number of users are coming into the system, the load balancer will distribute the load to different machines, to different app servers. Say, for example, if you have like 2 or 3 app servers, load balancer is something, or load balancer is the only thing that will actually distribute your load. Say, for example, if you get like 30 requests, it will send each and every request to all the systems. Like if you have 3 machines, then 10 users will be using concurrently with all 3 machines. So load balancing is will do that. But in this case, the first thing is your requested resource is not found. So in that case, you'll definitely get a 404 error. And if you're getting it frequently, so that's another important point. If you're getting it frequently during your test, you have to check whether you're hitting the valid endpoint. So you have to check your URL. You have to check the valid endpoints. When I say endpoints, it's going to be at the endpoint at the server end. And then also you have to check the load balancing, whether it is directing the traffic to the correct path. If it is directing the traffic to the incorrect path, so when I say incorrect path, to an server which is down. So when the server is down, but it's still if it sends, then you won't be able to get the response, right? So that's the 404 not found part. And then the 408, which is request timeout. So we get to see this most of the times, the 408, because the client, right, that will take too long time to send the request. So client is me. When I take too long to send the request, or what happens is here, I would have been sent the request, but what happens is when my previous requests were still getting processed, okay, what happens is it'll make my request to keep on waiting in the queue. Say for example, if you're going to the theater to book some tickets, and if the first person is taking too much of time to get the ticket, right, what happens is you are waiting for a long time. So what the system understand is you took long time to send your request, or you took long time to come to the counter, right? So that is what happens. So that's what we get to see this 408 request timeout, because the request that we previously sent will be taking too much of time to respond or to process. So that will actually keep others to wait in the queue, and in turn we get this 408 response code. And if this particular request, timeout happens during load test, it indicates that there is a network or any test script inefficiency. So that's all about the 408. So these are all the client side errors. And now we'll see the server side errors quickly. So why I was telling you is, I mean, we were actually discussing about the errors that we were facing it previously. So coming back to this one, the next one here. So when we are getting it, I mean, we should be in a position to first understand like why is it happening, and then we should be quickly able to jump in and we have to fix it as well. So the next thing is in terms of okay, as I told you, these are where is that server errors. Anything that comes to the comes as 500, don't blame on the code. Everything is on your server. Everything is in your servers that you're using. So the first one is the 500. That's the internal server error. So when I say internal server error, that's a generic server failure, which could possibly because of any unhandled exception or any backend issues due to heavy load. So that's why you get this 500 internal server error. So as I told you, most of the times we get this 500 internal server failure, internal server error, because as I told you, it's a very generic failure. It's a very generic server failure. And the next thing is the bad gateway, 502 bad gateway. And the server which is acting as a gateway when it receives any invalid response from an upstream server, we get to see this 502 bad gateway, because what happens is it's all because of the invalid response, not from us or not from the client, but instead it gets it from the upstream server. So when I say upstream server, it can be your any third-party server, or it can be your database server. So when the app server is sending a request, and when it gets a response back from the database server, if it sends an invalid response, then automatically we get to see a bad gateway. Or the same happens with the app server to web server. So in that case, yes, again we get to see a bad gateway error. And the next thing is the 503, which is a service unavailable. Yes, I personally have this. I face this one several times. Unavailable. Where is the tip? Unavailable. So what happens with unavailable is the server that we are testing, right? That we are using as part of our load test or stress test or performance, any type of performance testing. So that particular server goes temporarily, or it will be like temporarily unable to handle any request. Uh, you very well know, right? So when do we get that? When there is a huge load and the server could not handle any request, or it's already down, or it's already broken. So in that case, we get to see this service unavailable error. So now we can correlate, right? The difference between 400 and 500, right? The difference between the client side error and the server side error. And this could actually happen. I mean, the 503 possibly happens due to high traffic. If you're running a normal load test and suddenly when you are giving a spike, yes, it will happen. And when your service is on maintenance and when you're running it, yes, it will fail. And when your resources are exhausted, when I say resources are exhausted, it can be your CPU reaches 90% and no more CPU can be used, or when your memory goes beyond 100% and no more resources can be used, or if your disk gets completed, if this disk gets occupied, everything like there is no more space in the disk. Yes, even in that scenario, you get to see this service unavailable issue. And then the 504, which is gateway timeout. This is almost similar to 502 because they both 502 and the 504 deals with the gateway. So this timeout will occur while the gateway or the proxy server is waiting for a response from the upstream service. So in that case, yes, we get to see this 504 gateway. So most of this is like waiting for the. Did someone ping me or something?
No, no,
No, right?
one
Okay.
was
Okay,
joined
joined
back.
it now. Okay, fine. No worries. Yeah. Sorry, I just got a ping, so message. Fine. So yeah, gateway is something like okay. In both the gateways, in both the bad gateway and the gateway timeout, everything is reliable. Or both of these happens is because of the upstream service. So if the upstream service fails, or if the upstream service makes the other downstream servers to wait for a long time, in that case, yes, we get to see the gateway timeout issue, and this actually indicates there's a slow database queries or there's an overload backend service. So as I told you, to the app server, anything that comes from it, like it can be a third party service, third party response coming back, or from the database, any any SQL or any query that's running coming in. If it fails or if it makes it to wait for a long time, yes, the gateway timeout will happen. And 504 is a clear example. So if you see a 504, that's it. You're going to handle a gateway issue or something that's been from a upstream service issue. And then the 507, which is the insufficient storage. So this is about the, and now you might know this is about the disk part. So most of the time we don't never face this insufficient storage because nowadays, not most of the times we get to have a server that runs out of a space. So we normally don't get this 507. We often, I personally get to see in my experience, I would say I get to see 400 if in case if I make any mistakes in the request. Yes, I get to see that. And in case of authorization, yes, during load, if the session is not properly handled, if you do not do the correlation, if you do not do your correlation properly, yes, you get to see this 401 because the session with multiple users will automatically fail. And then the forbidden, yes, if the server is understanding the request, but if it refuses to authorize it, yes, we get to see this for forbidden one. And not found, yes, it's very 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 common. If your request is not found, if your requested resources does not exist, we get to see this 404. And request timeout, yes, we get to see whenever we are waiting for a long time, the client, if the client takes too much time to request or to respond back, yes, we get that. And when it comes to the server error, that's very common. I mean, the common errors are like 500. Yes, internal server error happened for me several times, and bad gateway happened, service unavailable happened, and these are the three common. I would say that the gateway in terms of I have faced 502 personally many times, 503 and 500. Yeah, so these are the very common errors I faced. Yeah. So that's about the client. So in case if you're finding these issues, in case you're finding these errors, yes, you have to uh, uh, first understand like what is happening, and then you have to navigate towards that area in terms of fixing the bottlenecks. Okay. And let's go to the next part here,
Yes.
the actual parameterization. Yeah. Thanks for asking the question, Chris.